We are back with Dr. Asantewa. Dr. Asantewa, how important is drumming to a comfort ritual?
Very important. So I was saying about the mediation, the spiritual and the material, and that mediation, and something stimulates that process. Probably faster than than because you can go into trance, you can catch comfort without the drums, but the stimulus is the drum. So if I was just to say comfort to me is that mediation stimulated by the drums and necessitated by or facilitated by the trance. You have to or dance. You have to dance. The foot becomes light. The drum lightens the feet, lightens the spirit, frees the spirit, and inevitably trance takes place, comfort happens. And so the drums they're the first thing the first people, the first energy that you welcome into the ceremonial space. They are the central feature of comfort ceremonies. It wouldn't work without the drums in this way.
Are there special considerations for a comfort ceremony?
Say that again.
Are there special consideration for preparing in the preparation for a comfort ceremonies, like you know, I guess the kind of drums, the what food,
Okay, yes.
alcohol.
Yes, there are in all things spiritual there are special preparations, and there are preparations that have to take place. I mean, the people, the participants, the practitioner have to prepare, have to be kind of gear their mind and their spirit up to it. You have to, so like this is the days leading up to a ritual. There's certain abstentions that you must abide by. For example, sexual intercourse. You wouldn't have intercourse the night before, because you're trying to keep a kind of a pure, that mediation. You want that space for that kind of be clean and pure. Similarly, for women, menstruating and that kind of thing, you wouldn't be doing a ritual when you're having that cleansing period. So then, and then you would just make sure you get all the foods, get the, arrange the flowers, the you would cleanse, with incense and smudge sticks and whatever you like, the space that you're going to use. You would do a lot of cleansing of your mind, or reflecting as well, because you're trying to gear the energies positively towards that moment, that event when you're going to do a ritual. It might not be that way for everybody, but certainly those key things like the abstentions and the menstrual and the cleansing the yard space, very, very important. Or whichever space you're going to use. We've done them in London in a community space. You would make sure that those places are just, because you're trying to lighten the places as well, from the energies preceding.
How has this journey changed you in any way?
I'm changed in my certain perceptions of what it means, what divine, what God means, if I can say that, what God means to me. It's changed in terms of interpreting God, because when I was also, I didn't say about my relationship with my mother is, the insistence on the Bible version of things. And I struggled very much with that. And I struggle very much with the idea of the divine, or with God being something that was outside of myself. Um, a big man in the sky, an old white guy actually, or
Yes.
someone like that in the sky, who was very damning, and and very, very scary. But yet he was scary, and yet then there was this other one that was the devil. And but in my understanding of African cosmologies is that we didn't have things like there's this scary, you know, devil in that way, as 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 to Europeans. It wasn't in totally. Everything was part of you, you know, and you and God are one. Um, there are expressions of things that you could identify with a sort of a bad energy, or a negative energy, which might be termed now, might be termed evil, or the devil, or whatever. But ultimately, the individual was possessed or divested of all things good and all things bad, and it was for them to navigate their way to becoming, to developing, to advancing, and aligning with their divine, ultimate divine self.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I would say, trying to understand this mediative moment between the physical and the spiritual worlds, I think that is what has led me to understand. It's led me to understand what divine means, what sacred means, as much as one can understand fully what sacred means, and trying to be a kind of a vessel that sacred moment can manifest through. The spirits, the ancestors, spirit guides will want to come through. Yeah, would want to manifest through.
So I'm gathering that if there isn't these two white guys in the sky, these two entities that they call God and the devil, then a lot of the responsibilities on the individual then.
Which poses a lot of problem for some people.
Yes.
Because in an idealistic way, they would rather devolve, or put that responsibility onto some other entity, whether that is the will to do good, or the impulse to do bad, is not down to me, but is down to some other force. And so it's easy to accept, or for some, it's easy to accept, or to have those force either way that you can put everything onto. And so the responsibility of self-actualization is taken away from that individual that is trying to. It's taken away from that individual unless you access your spiritual intelligence fully, and analyze yourself in a more holistic context, whereby you have autonomy. Once created, you're an individuated expression of the source, the all that is called by different names on being God. Once you interpret or analyze the self in that way, you're always going to be looking to outside of yourself for whether it's salvation, redemption, somebody to take the slack, so that you don't have to be responsible for it. And I don't suppose many people would look at it that way. But I think the outsider God devil dichotomy for me.
So ultimately, I am responsible.
Ultimately, I am responsible
Mm-hmm.
through my channeling of the the forces within me. I have all the forces within me. I came with the forces within me. I expressed into the world, um, from a space of sacred, from a space of divine. I expressed into this reality,
Mm-hmm.
and in some ways, I'm trying to to navigate my way back.
What are most people surprised to learn about you when they get to know you?
So, sorry.
What are most people surprised to learn about you when they get to know you?
Were they surprised to learn about me?
Mm-hmm.
You're asking some questions here. What they surprised to learn about me is, I suppose, that I have the down to earthness. I would
Yeah,
say
yeah,
the
yeah.
down to earthness. You know, where I am, where I go. I just try to be down to earth, and I think that sometimes can throw people. You
How
know, Doctor Lardy Dardy, and then it's like, yeah.
where, where can one find your book, or how can one get your book? And so I saw someone in the chat room just ask, "Is it for sale in Guyanas yet?"
Is it for sale in
For
Guyana?
sale in Guyana, yes.
Yes, actually, they're available on our website, which is Way With. That's WAYWIVE words WORDZ waywithwords.com. Um, they're on the website. The thing is that they're there available postage wise for UK residents, but if other they'll have to either hang on whilst I sort out the Amazon thing, or email us, um, and we can arrange the postage and stuff. It's just trying to sort out the postage. And but in Guyana, there a few of the books left when I was there because they managed to do quite well. So I left them at Austin's, on Church Street.
Okay. And in the chat room, Miss Mo said, "Great show so far. The information is vital since so much of our culture is dying. I have a few memories of attending Komfa ceremonies when I was little. It was always fascinating to me."
Okay. Mhm.
How, what have you discovered about yourself, having vested so much of your time and interest in this research? What have you discovered about you personally?
Um, that I discovered that I'm prepared to push um, to push boundaries, to 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 push boundaries, to try and bring different or disparate elements together. Um, whether it's like, for example, whether it's the drummers or the practitioners of Kamfa in a society where they would otherwise be frowned on, or in an environment where they would be looked at, with disregard. I, I feel I'm trying to break down those boundaries, those barriers, and say, well, which is why I suppose I did the biography. Mama Lou Tales is
Mhm.
the story of my mother. She's not famous. I teach biography writing, and I read biographies, like, of famous people. But for me, what about those people that are alive? Just alive.
Yeah.
And what about the person that's closest to you that's alive, and have through them you exist, and so on. So I think I discovered about myself that I don't like hearing or saying no, or that it can't be done, or you can't be done, or you have to be a certain way, you have to have this and you have to have that, you have to have that privilege, and I just think anything could be done.
I
You do
agree.
it.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Mm.
What is one experience as a lecturer you remember? Let me rephrase that question. A defining moment as a lecturer. A defining moment for you as a lecturer.
Say that again.
What is a defining moment for you as a lecturer?
Oh, a refining or
Defining, defining.
defining. Okay, defining moment for me as a lecturer. Um, Students I was teaching would say start off with C grades. They're at C, and they're at C because they've they've been kind of lied to. They're at C because they've been lied to in different forms. One of those forms is by being told that they're actually good. They actually should be at C when really they're probably more like a D. And then you taking them to D and them having a tantrum about the fact that you don't understand them, you misunderstand them, and so on. But then in deeper conversation, you explain to them that actually what you're doing is half of yourself, or a quarter of yourself, or a quarter of your potential. So although some lecturer or some teacher is telling you that you're C, you're really D, and you're only D because you are only operating at quarter of your ability, if that, and moving them from that D position to A by the end of a semester
Oh, oh.
by
When,
making them realize that they need to write and be themselves, write their truth without apology.
when are you most happy?
Sorry?
When are you most happy?
Oh, when am I most happy? I'm most happy when I'm with my bona fide family and friends. I'm most happy as well when I do some of the rituals and it's going well. I'm most happy when I'm going, say, like when I go to the river or to the sea, and yeah, yeah, those times. I suppose those times I'm most happy, um, in a collective sense or
Uh-huh.
with others, and I enjoy that collective experience totally. But an inward happiness that I don't think is transferable, or that is often visible, is when I am I am writing and it's flowing,
Ah,
and there's no one around, but I am the mediation, the muse that I'm being for that spirit that's trying to write the thing. It's working. It's just working.
I like that.
Mm.
What are you most proud of?
Sorry.
What are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, should I be like, I'm proud of like people, other people, and not be like, totally narcissistic here. Um, yeah, because it's a difficult one. Because I'm obviously proud of like my people, like my niece. his friend Kathy, and I'm proud of those moments. But if you're talking about me, most proud.
If you could go
Yeah,
back, if you could go back in time, what would you tell your 15-year-old self?
what would I tell my 15-year-old self? Oh, I would tell my 15-year-old self to relax.
Uh-huh.
I would tell my 15-year-old self to um, to dream big. Like, there is absolutely nothing. What you're doing now, don't panic about it. You know, just be true to what you're doing. Um, just be true to yourself. Just live and love people that and yeah, I would just say relax. Don't fight up and try and prove this and try and like be in a hurry about things. Um, you're gonna get there wherever there is.
And what are you
Just
most thankful for?
say that again.
What are you most thankful for?
Most thankful for. Um, ooh, again, it's one of those ones. um, oh gosh, what am I most thankful for? I am most thankful for something. I'm most thankful for the communication that I have with my grandparents.
Oh.
That I don't know how the communication that I have with my grandparents. The fact that my grandfather appeared to me in a vision when I was at university and really struggling, not knowing who I was at that time, and he appeared to me in this vision, and he escorted me on a plane and took me back to Guyana. That's the first time I went back to Guyana, and I didn't know. It was the one time I dreamt my grandfather. This is on my mother's side. I didn't know my grandparents on my father's side, and so I'm thankful to them because in that time when I would have been cast into the dungeon of insanity, um, you know, institutionalized, it was my grandparents that were with me more than no one physical, really. Well, yeah, there was later on, but initially it was my grandparents. It was the source of them, the
Mm-hmm.
force of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they are still with me. So I would say I am most thankful to those them as my guide and counsel and all, like an ethic, a moral coding. You know, like I feel them. If I'm going to do something naughty or whatever, I think
You're almost
watching.
there. You mentioned your grandparents, and I feel inspired to ask you this particular question. If you were in a room with a group of us, several of us, and you needed to tell us about how we should relate to our ancestors, what would you say?
Oh, first of all, I would say that it's kind of imperative that we do is we try to overcome that reticence that we have about it, that kind of awkward, they're dead idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and once they're dead, they're dead. I feel that we need to understand how we are and why we are.
Mm-hmm.
And we are because they really they came before us. Today's my sister's birthday. I must big her up. She's 60. She turned 60 today.
Happy birthday.
Big sister Sandra. Happy birthday, Sandra. And I say that because her daughter posted a picture of her looking gorgeous and glam. And then some of the comments were, oh, you know, I can now see where you get that from, to my niece. And I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, yeah, on those superficial levels, you know, you have your beauty, you have your fine skin, you have your nice hair, you have your shape, you have your, you know, like my sister was saying, oh, we lived, because she was saying, oh, it's my birthday, but it's just another day. And I was saying, well, it's not another day. I said, because, you know, the so much coincided to make you, you know, to give you birth on this day. And she was saying, yeah, but we come from livers, you know. And it's like, yeah, we do. And it's just about acknowledging where you come from, where we ultimately come from, and trying to reach back and honor that space, that source. And sometimes I think, quite frankly, we're just ungrateful, you know. So it's like you're floating around. Yeah, look at me. I have my intelligence. I have my this. I have my that. You know, that just came to me. I just, you know, and it's like, well, yeah. I mean, I know that my father, who passed away when I was quite young as well, and he too is very much part of my spiritual world and thinking. I mean, some of the things I do, my mother told me my father used to do, and I didn't know my father. I didn't know my father, you know, but he used to go to the river and, you know, and do all those kinds of rituals by the river and so on. And my mum said, you're doing what your father used to do. I didn't know him, and I didn't know that he used to do these things. So to turn away from, or to not really think about it, to not engage with it, you know, you'll have the Christian arguments like, you know, oh, well, it's ancestor worship and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, the prophets and the saints and all of those are ancestors of a sort.
Yes.
And, you know, you would go and you would pray to them. Jesus is an ancestor of a sort, you know. So, but what about your immediate ancestor? And, you know, so I would say to that room full of, full? Does the room have to be full? I would just say to them that it is in relationship. But I know that there's some people that send me Facebook messages, actually, more increasingly, about how do they honor their ancestors. So I think there is a desire to actually do it, but it's like, how? What do we do? You know? And I think just simple things like, you can go in some homes where there's not a picture of family members in that home. You know, there might be a picture, if it's, you know, Africa, there might be a picture of a Jesus, say, yeah, or lots of pictures of Jesuses, but no picture of the family, of your mother, your father, you know, a family shrine, if you like. There's not even that these days. So it can be really simple.
I have that.
As simple as that, as finding a nice photo of one of your ancestors, your positive ancestor, and framing that photo and putting it somewhere prominent so that it's, you know, it's visible and that silent.
I have that by my door.
Sorry?
I said I have that as soon as you get into my door.
Yes.
It's right there. My mom and my dad. Yeah.
This is it, and it's like the, you know, that is like a head, if you like, a head of the unseen guest, if you like, or the seen guest. And so there's these simple things that we can do to start that communication, or that the road towards that mediation, I think, is what I would say.
Thanks. Dr. Asantewa, I must ask you this question. What makes you laugh out loud?
What makes
you laugh out loud?
what makes me laugh out loud? What makes me laugh out loud? I don't know. Lots of things make me laugh out loud. I could just be, lots of things would make me laugh out loud. I'm trying to, like, this question is trying to make me laugh out loud. I think conversations sometimes with my mum.
Yes.
Where she just surprises me by some unexpected wit, some naughty thing that you wouldn't think she's thinking, and she just come out with it, and you're like, wow, and so, but generally I'm pretty much a, we laugh. My friend and I I can't.
Oh, right. Dr. Asantewa, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me onto your show at this lovely hour.
You are in the UK, so I have to really thank you.
I'm in the UK, and we have to be up very early in the morning.
Oh my God!
Now, soon.
at least you refrain from rubbing the eyes and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. I'm managing my micro movements, you see.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.